I think it's pretty obvious that most of the time I use a script for these videos, but what better movie to try out going off script than a Deadpool movie? Deadpool and Wolverine is out now, and this was one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. It's our one Marvel release for this year, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I really enjoy the first two Deadpool movies, and I really enjoy Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and I've been excited to see this team up happen, and I've also been really excited to see Deadpool himself join the MCU. This movie is meant to be a send-off for the Fox Marvel Universe, and the way it goes about that both logistically and honoring all the material that came before is pretty successful. My one gripe is that I wish they had pulled it off with a better story. The two reactions that I've seen for this film are either, "This is a horrible disgrace to the art of cinema," and "This is the most fantastic and fun adventure that has been in theaters for years." Personally, I think both are a bit hyperbolic. I thought it was alright. Let's start with what I was saying before. The story. Something about the structure of this movie was just frustrating to me. And that's because of how often it just kept starting and stopping. So like in most movies, let's say you're walking and talking at the same time. That's how a movie goes. This movie just felt like it was constantly taking 2 steps forward and then stopping, standing still, and talking for a very long time. And a lot of that has to do with, unfortunately, a lot of Deadpool staples. The jokes, the swearing, the jokes, the fourth wall breaks, and the jokes. In the first two films, it felt like he was able to make the jokes as the story was moving. It didn't slow anything down. But this one felt like they were constantly just needing to stop everything so that they could make a whole bunch of jokes, and then move a little bit, and then stop and make a whole bunch of jokes again. They were just more interruptive than anything. And in my opinion, the oversaturation of jokes made them a little less funny, especially like the swearing and the fourth wall jokes. Because in my opinion, those two things work a lot better sparingly. When you go a little while without hearing a swear word or acknowledging that you're in a movie, then when you finally do hear one, it has a lot more punch to it. And in here there were a lot of moments with big dirty words or pop culture references or acknowledgments of filmmaking that should have been really funny, but because I'd heard so many over the last, few minutes, they just didn't hit as hard and didn't find them as funny as I knew I should have. And another side effect of all the fourth wall breaks meant it was hard to get connected to the characters because it was hard to get immersed in this world. It was hard to really look at this as a story that was taking place in the Fox universe or in the MCU because I was constantly seeing it as on a movie set. And not just the fourth wall breaks, but just the overall writing made it hard to feel any kind of urgency story-wise. The next big thing that it was hard for me to get connected to is going to go a little bit into spoiler territory, but I'm going to say it's a minor spoiler, simply because I consider a spoiler to be anything that's not shown or addressed in the marketing and advertisement, but this one is kind of addressed right at the start of the film, so it's hard to super call it a spoiler, but also if you don't want to know anything besides what they've shown, whatever, you've seen the movie. One of the big things that I could not get connected to was this new Wolverine, because yes, this is an entirely new Wolverine. Hugh Jackman is not playing the character that he's been playing for the past 20 years. He's simply playing a new version of that character from a completely new universe we've never seen before. So that meant this film had a lot of heavy lifting to do to get us to feel an emotional connection to him. And unfortunately, I just didn't. I felt like all he did most of the movie was growl and drink, which when written and done right, can be effective in its simplicity, but I don't think it was written right. They call him the worst Wolverine, and I have to say that's right. From a writing perspective at least. Hugh Jackman was really trying his hardest to get us to connect emotionally to this new Wolverine, but I just couldn't, and I think it's because he was given really poor material to work with. He's supposed to have this really tragic, emotional backstory, but I just didn't feel anything from it. On a similar note, they tried to give Deadpool a little bit of a emotional, character-driven story arc, but it just did not hit as strongly as the first two films, because it just wasn't focused on. Because the way they wrote it, it just didn't have the potential to be as impactful as the first two films. So as you can tell, I have a lot of complaints about this film. But did I hate it? No, I actually had a really good time. Because the thing is, it was still a lot of fun. I know I said there were some jokes that didn't work, but there were a lot that really did. There were some really surprising and fun cameos that I really enjoyed. There were some great action and fight scenes that didn't really have any proper motivation behind them, so it was hard to get invested in them, but they were fun to watch. I think that's the overall vibe of this film. It's just fun. There's not much depth, but could there have been? I mean, I think so, because there's a lot more depth in the first two Deadpools, and Wolverine has had plenty of depth over the years. So even though it's nowhere close to what it could have been, what it was still a great time that I would happily go back to. Well, those are just my thoughts after watching this movie. What'd y'all think? Agree? Disagree? Think I'm stupid? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what you think about this new off-script format. Should I go back to a script? Should I stick with this? Leave a comment and let me know. And let me know what you thought of this film. As for me, I say, Deadpool and Wolverine? More like Midpool and Wolverine. I enjoyed it, but I just know it could have been a lot more.